Welcome back. Today it's command of evidence, the textual kind, where the question hands you a claim and asks which quotation or finding best backs it up. Students lose these by grabbing a choice that's true or on topic but doesn't actually prove the claim. I run the same 3 checks every time and will mark up 5 together, from an easy warm-up to 2 real traps at the end. Here's the whole method. Check 1. Pin the exact claim. Find the one sentence stating what the evidence has to support and underline its key terms and its direction. Check 2. Predict the proof. In your own words, say what a fact would have to show to back that exact claim, same subject, same direction, before you read a single choice. Check 3. Match and cut the traps. Keep the choice that directly proves your prediction and reject the 3 usual traps, the off-topic, the reversed, and the close but doesn't prove it. Question 1. Our warm-up. Check 1. Pin the exact claim. Dr. Okonkwo hypothesizes that fish can recognize individual cleaner shrimp and prefer to return to the ones that gave them a thorough cleaning before. So underline 2 things. Recognize individuals and prefer the thorough cleaners. Check 2. Predict the proof. A supporting fact would show fish going back to the same shrimp that did the best job. Hold that before reading a single choice. Now the choices. B says the shrimp cleaned faster when several fish were waiting. That's about the shrimp's speed, not whether fish recognize anyone off the topic. Set it aside. C says fish visited any available shrimp with no preference among them. That's the opposite of our claim, which is all about preference. Rule it out. D says larger fish carried more parasites than smaller ones. May be true, but it says nothing about recognizing individuals. Cross it off. A says fish kept swimming back to the specific shrimp that had removed the most parasites before. That recognizes individuals and shows preference, both halves. We keep A. A wins because it proves both halves of the claim, the same individuals, and a preference for the thorough ones. The traps were off-topic, reversed, and a true detail that proves nothing about recognition. Question 2. Pin the claim first. A student argues that, despite her loneliness, May finds small comforts in the unfamiliar streets. That claim has 2 parts, lonely and yet comforted. Underline both. Now predict the proof. The right quotation has to show the loneliness and the small comfort sitting side by side. A line with only one of those halves won't do it. Keep that prediction in mind. To the choices, each one a quotation. A. The empty apartment and a silence she wanted to scream against. That's pure loneliness. No comfort, only half the claim. Toss it. Back home, her friends are laughing without her. That's about the place she left, not a comfort she finds here. Off it goes. D. She's certain the city will never feel like anything but a stranger's house. That flatly rejects comfort, the reverse of the claim. Strike it. She knows no one, yet the warm smell of bread made the strange street feel almost like home. Loneliness and comfort together. B is our answer. B is right because the quotation carries both halves at once, alone yet quietly comforted. A and D each grabbed a single half, and the half D grabbed pointed the wrong way. Question 3. Check 2 leads here. Pin the claim, then predict. The researcher claims the redesign got residents who had rarely used the old park to start visiting regularly. The key isn't total visits. It's a specific group, the people who hardly ever came before. Predict the proof. A fact showing those rare visitors are now showing up regularly. Watch for choices that talk about the wrong group. Now the choices. A says residents who had always used the park enjoyed the new seating. That's the regulars, not the rare visitors. Our claim is about wrong group. Scratch it. B says visits to a different park without seating held steady. That's a separate park. It tells us nothing about this claim. Drop it. C says some longtime users came less often because of crowds. That points the opposite way, and again, wrong group. Knock it out. D says total visits rose, driven almost entirely by people who said they'd seldom come before. That's exactly our group, now coming regularly. D holds. D wins because it tracks the exact group in the claim, the rare visitors, and shows them returning. The traps swapped in the regulars, a different park, and the opposite trend. Question 4. Harder. Pin the claim carefully. The historian argues that Hart stayed hopeful about the school, even as she admitted progress was painfully slow. Two parts again, and both have to be there, still hopeful and yet slow. Predict the proof. The quotation has to hold optimism and a confession of slow going in the same breath. On a hard one, expect distractors that give you only one half. The quotations. New pupils every month, and she never doubted the school would flourish. That's all hope, no admission of slow progress, half the claim. Cut it. B. She confesses the work has crawled at a snail's pace for 3 years. That's the slowness, but no hope at all, the other half alone. Push it aside. D. She fears the school may never open as obstacles multiply. That's despair, the reverse of hopeful. Away it goes. C. Though progress has been heartbreakingly slow, she remains certain the school will one day serve hundreds, slow and hopeful together. C is it. C is right, because it holds both halves the claim demands, slow progress and steady hope. A and B each delivered just one half, and D took the hopeful half and flipped it into despair. That's the classic two-part claim trap. Question 5. The hardest. Check 3 is where this one's won, but it starts with the claim. Dr. Reyes proposes the creosote bush uses its root chemicals not to kill rivals outright, but to keep seedlings far enough away that they never shade its low branches. Underline the purpose, spacing to protect the low branches, and the words not to kill outright. Predict the proof, a fact tying the cleared space to those low branches. Now match and cut the traps. B says the chemicals killed nearly every seedling within a wide radius. The passage says the point is not to kill outright, so B contradicts the very claim. Strike that one. C says the bush makes more chemical in the hottest months. A true detail about timing, but nothing about protecting the branches. Leave it. D says other desert shrubs also release growth-limiting chemicals. That's about other plants, not this bush's purpose. Too broad. That one's out. A says when the chemicals were neutralized, seedlings grew close enough to shade the low branches, and those branches dropped extra leaves. That ties the spacing straight to the branches. A takes it. A is right because it links the chemical spacing directly to the low branches. Exactly Reyes' purpose. B was the nastiest trap. The passage really is about chemicals stopping growth, but killing outright is the one thing Reyes says it is not. That's the method. Pin the exact claim, predict the proof, then match and cut the traps. 10 fresh command of evidence questions are waiting in the printable practice test. The link is pinned in the comments. Work them cold, then check your reasoning against the claim every time. See you in the next one.